When Ryan came home that night, he brought me a bouquet of yellow roses. Unlike in the past, I wasn't thrilled. I merely glanced at them and kept working on what was in my hands. He didn't get upset. He placed the flowers on the table, walked over, and tried to coax me. Still mad? I already explained it to you. Emily just got back from abroad. She doesn't have any family here. It was only right for me to host a welcome dinner for her. It was just a normal gathering among friends. I didn't bring you because you don't know anyone in our circle, and I was worried you'd feel uncomfortable. He made his case sound so reasonable. His circle is full of researchers and academics, while I'm just a freshly graduated community worker. I never fit into their world, but Emily does. After all, she's not just his ex-girlfriend, she was also his college classmate, someone in his field. His sister in arms. Her coming back home meant it was only natural for them to reunite. Even if his relatives were helping him pacify me, in Ryan's eyes, my anger was nothing but childish and irrational. But I didn't want to be angry anymore, and I had no interest in dragging things out, so I simply replied, "Got it?" Then closed my laptop and got ready to head to the bedroom to sleep. Before I could turn around, Ryan grabbed my wrist again. "Kayla, there's really nothing going on between me and Emily. Our relationship ended a long time ago. We're adults now." "I know. Adults can still be friends after breaking up," I said flatly, pulling my hand back as a sign of agreement. "If she's all alone, then take good care of her." Ryan seemed a little surprised by how calm I was. The words slipped from his mouth. "You're really not upset anymore?" We'd been together for 3 years, and I had always minded the fact that he kept in touch with his ex. Especially in the past year, almost every single argument we had revolved around Emily. In my opinion, a proper ex should disappear like they've died, quietly, without a trace. But Emily, even when she was halfway across the ocean, had no problem calling my boyfriend in the middle of the night and chatting for hours. Thousands of miles didn't stop them from following each other on every platform, or from keeping a matching couple avatar on Instagram. Because of that, I'd had a complete meltdown. I forced him to cut off all contact with Emily, but Ryan couldn't bring himself to do it. "She's just a girl trying to survive in a foreign country. Can't you have a little empathy?" he asked. His friends also tried to reason with me. The fact that Ryan and Emily still talk just proves they've both moved on. "Why are you so hung up on the past?" As if I was the ridiculous one for caring about the past. Then why was his computer still packed with photos from their relationship? Why, after 7 years since their breakup, did he still save her contact as Emmy, while I was just wife? I was tired, especially after I saw Emily's new Instagram post tonight. She had posted a selfie, leaning on Ryan's shoulder, with the caption, "Our 10-year promise, fulfilled at last." Fulfilled at last. There's no way to describe the feeling I had at that moment. It was like I'd been pouring all my energy into defending my own territory, only to suddenly realize it had never been mine to begin with. It just so happened that Emily was back. It just so happened that neither of them was married yet. When I came back to my senses, I met Ryan's eyes, full of probing questions. I shook my head calmly and said, "Whatever you want to do, I don't mind anymore. We're breaking up anyway. People really are strange creatures." I had liked Ryan so much, but the moment I truly decided to give up on him, it wasn't the heart-wrenching pain I had imagined. I had liked Ryan since I was a kid. My mom and Ryan's mom were best friends. Ever since I could remember, it was a tradition to visit Ryan's family during the new year. I always looked forward to it, because it meant I'd get to see my handsome older brother Ryan. He would give me white rabbit candies, teach me how to fold paper stars, and read me stories. He was 6 years older than me. When I graduated elementary school, he was heading off to college. I cried my eyes out the day he left, clutching his shirt and begging him to take me with him. Everyone burst out laughing. Ryan was helpless. In the end, he bent down and comforted me, saying, "If you work hard and get into the same school as me, we can be together." I made him pinky promise me that I'd get into his university. Later, I found out he went to Tsinghua University. I pushed myself until I was sick, just to catch up with him. I only managed to get into the same city as Ryan for college. When we met again, he had changed a lot. He was still kind to me, but only in the way an older brother next door would be: gentle, polite, and distant. Our rare interactions were limited to holidays when we both returned home, and he'd occasionally give me a ride. That was the case until my junior year, when I accidentally injured my leg and had to use a wheelchair for 3 months. I had no idea how he found out, but he came and took me to his apartment to care for me. As we spent time together day by day, the feelings I had buried for so long reignited. I finally gathered the courage to confess to him, but he rejected me, and even started avoiding me. I was hurt and devastated, and I swore I'd never speak to him again for the rest of my life. But then, just a few days later, everything changed. That night, he called me. Even though he tried to keep his voice calm, I could hear the cracks and tremors in it. After we hung up, I climbed over the dorm gate and rushed to his apartment. I knocked for a long time before someone finally answered. When the door opened, I was nearly knocked out by the overwhelming smell of alcohol. Ryan, always so composed and reserved, stood in the doorway with red eyes, looking down at me from the shadows. Half his body was lost in the darkness. He didn't say a word, but the despair clinging to him was heartbreaking. I felt sorry for him. I stayed the night without saying anything. And from that night on, our relationship grew rapidly. We ended up together for 3 years, long enough to start talking about marriage. Everything happened so naturally that I almost forgot that the brokenness I saw in him that night was all because Emily had broken their 10-year promise. I decided I would break up with Ryan a week from now, after Friday, because that's when my parents were coming to visit. I didn't want the scene to get ugly, especially since our families had always supported our relationship. They were waiting for our wedding. As Ryan once said, only kids break up and cut ties like enemies. Adults preserve each other's dignity. Over the next few days, Ryan was even more gentle with me, persistent, attentive. He brought me flowers, gave me gifts, and drove me to and from work every day. Whenever I responded with indifference, he would find ways to keep the conversation going, trying to ease the awkwardness. He even promised that when my parents arrived, he would take me to the play I had always wanted to see. But in the end, I was the only one who picked up my parents. Ryan said there had been an issue with his lab data and that he needed some time, but he promised he'd meet us at the restaurant later. He told us to go ahead and wait in the private dining room. But he never showed. Not even by the time the play ended and my parents walked out with me. My mom tried to cover for him, holding my hand gently and reassuring me. Ryan must be caught up with something urgent. These things happen. Don't give him a hard time when you get home. We're staying a few more days anyway. My dad nodded beside her, backing her up. I forced a smile, not sure if I should say anything, because just moments earlier, I had seen Emily's new post on her feed. It was a hotel room selfie with the caption, "Thank God for you. Every time something goes wrong, you're always the one who shows up for me." In the background was a tall silhouette I recognized instantly. It was Ryan. How ridiculous. He had left me and my parents hanging all night so he could be with his ex. After dinner, I took my parents back to their hotel, then caught a cab to the location tagged in Emily's post. When Ryan opened the door and saw me, a flicker of guilt crossed his face, but it disappeared quickly as he greeted me warmly. "Hey, what are you doing here?" He wrapped his arm around my waist as he led me in and added, "I've been meaning to introduce you to Emily." But it wasn't just Emily inside. Several graduate students from Ryan's project team were there too. When they saw me, there was a flicker of unease on each of their faces. Ryan never liked me visiting him at his university. He always said personal matters should be kept separate from work. He only had one graduate student directly under him, the same one who had once come to our house to deliver documents. He recognized me right away. "This is Mrs. Ryan," he said, staring at me with a strange expression, then instinctively glanced at Emily, clearly holding something back. It was Emily who spoke first. "You must be Kayla, right? I've seen pictures of you on Ryan's phone before, little pigtails, super cute. I can't believe you've grown up so much." This was the first time I had met Emily in person. She looked just like her photos, serene and beautiful. She walked over and took my hand with warm enthusiasm. "You're just as pretty as the pictures. No wonder Ryan treasures you so much, he doesn't bring you around." You have no idea how much we teased him for dating the girl next door. So young, and he still went for it. Isn't that kind of predatory?" She gave Ryan a mock punch to the chest, her movements smooth and practiced, as if they'd done it countless times before. I looked at them, then couldn't help but laugh, and turned to Ryan. "So this is what you meant by being too busy to meet my parents." There are moments when your silence runs so deep that you can only laugh. I slipped my hand out of Emily's grasp. The mood turned chilly. Ryan parted his lips slightly, clearly feeling guilty. But it was Emily who spoke up first again. "I had no idea Ryan was supposed to have dinner with your parents tonight. There was a last-minute issue with my data, and I asked him to bring the whole team to help. How about this? Tomorrow I'll host dinner to apologize to your family." Her words were perfectly measured, her tone gracious, leaving no room for reproach. But since when did meeting my boyfriend's girlfriend's parents require his ex's involvement? Before I could decline, Ryan jumped in. "Kayla isn't petty, and today was a special case. Emily just got back to the country. If the data isn't fixed, she could lose her job." He lowered his head and smiled at me, eyes full of that familiar gentleness. In a soft voice, he tried to comfort me. "Tomorrow, I'll apologize properly to your parents. Once everything wraps up, let's all go to dinner together." This was the first time he had ever invited me to one of his social gatherings, so it turns out the key to entering his circle was just one sentence from him, something I had waited years for. But now, I didn't want it anymore. "No need," I said. "I came to break up." Ryan's late-night meal went uneaten. On the way home, he for once wore a cold expression. "Kayla, you were really out of line tonight. My students were there. What do you think that looked like?" Once we got inside, he began scolding me. I watched him sit on the couch, chest rising and falling with anger, lips pressed into a thin line. After a while, he rubbed his temples, clearly exhausted. "What are my students supposed to think of you? They won't suspect anything between me and Emily. They'll just think you were making a scene. You say I don't bring you to events, but with you acting like a child, how could I?" I cut him off before he could finish. While he stood there trying to figure out how to discipline me, I had already packed all my things. Standing in the doorway, I said calmly, "I don't care what they think. It's not like I'll ever see them again." When Ryan realized I was serious, he finally got angry. He stormed toward me, his voice louder than I'd ever heard it. "You're breaking up with me just because I missed dinner tonight?" I nodded. "Yes, just because of that. And because I should have done it a long time ago. I should have ended things when Emily made that first long-distance call. When I saw they still followed each other on every platform. When I noticed their matching couple avatar. The fact that she lived across the ocean never once stopped her from leaving a shadow on the relationship Ryan and I had built for 3 years. It seemed Ryan hadn't expected me to say that. He was visibly shaken. His lips trembled slightly. "Kayla, I don't want to explain anything about Emily anymore," Ryan said. "How about this? If it'll make you feel better, I promise I'll keep my distance from her from now on. And I'll take you with me to future gatherings too. Will that be okay?" Hearing him say that, I genuinely wanted to laugh. Men understand everything. Ryan knew I was uncomfortable with how close he was to Emily. He understood that I resented being kept out of his social circle. He knew exactly why I was angry, but he just didn't care. He thought I was like a child who could be soothed with a few sweet words. Even now, he still believed that my seriousness was just a strategy to win him over. I couldn't take it anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him hard. "Take whoever you want. I don't care." I had thought my parents would be against me breaking up with Ryan, but when they found out I had dragged my suitcase over to the room next to theirs at the hotel, the first thing my dad said was, "Why didn't you call me to come get you at this hour?" I hadn't cried when I broke up with Ryan, but when I heard my dad say that, the tears came pouring out uncontrollably. My parents hurried to comfort me, clumsily and lovingly. When I had finally calmed down a bit, I asked them why they didn't even ask what had happened between me and Ryan. My mom said, "We've seen how much you've liked Ryan since you were a child. For you to give up on someone you liked that much, he must have really hurt you. So we support whatever decision you make. All that matters is what our daughter wants." My dad was even more direct. My daughter deserves the best in this world. If a boy wants to break up, so be it. You never need to fall in love or get married if you don't want to. We can take care of you for a lifetime. It was in that moment that I realized they hadn't liked Ryan because they had watched him grow up, or because he had always been exceptional. They liked him because he was the person I had chosen. I was deeply moved and ashamed. My parents were the ones who truly loved me the most in this world, yet I had abandoned everything to follow a man. Coming to this unfamiliar city and staying for all these years. I decided to leave with my parents. I had come to the capital for Ryan. Unlike him, who had bought a home and put down roots here, I was just a fresh graduate in community services. Leaving while I was still young would be better than struggling for years in limbo. But when I went to resign, my supervisor was very reluctant to let me go. He had high hopes for me. In the end, he agreed to transfer me to our company's branch office in my hometown. After wrapping up all the formalities and walking out of the office, I saw Ryan's car parked on the side of the road. I wasn't surprised. Knowing Ryan, even in a breakup, he wouldn't let things end as abruptly as they had the night before. What I didn't expect was to see Emily sitting in the passenger seat. "Kayla, can we talk?" she said, rolling down the window herself. Her tone was sincere. "I know this is all because of me, and I'm sorry things got so messy between you and Ryan. He's always been gentle with me. But ever since last night, I'm sure everyone in Ryan's circle sees me as some jealous, petty woman causing drama. But honestly, I don't care anymore." I replied coldly and directly. "There's nothing to talk about. Ryan and I are over. We're not even trying to be friends." Ryan sat in the driver's seat, staring straight ahead. His face was still dark with displeasure, clearly still upset about last night. He didn't look at me, but I noticed his knuckles turning pale white on the steering wheel when he heard what I said. Emily looked even more uncomfortable. She turned her head, avoiding my eyes, and nudged Ryan with her elbow, pretending to be worried. "You upset your girlfriend, and still just sit here doing nothing? Aren't you afraid of losing another one?" Her concern may have been for him, but it made me nauseous. Emily always talked like she knew better. When she found out Ryan and I had fought over her, she even gave him advice on how to win me back: send flowers, give gifts, say sweet things. Every time they chatted, she'd end it with something like, "Back in our day, girls didn't need all this coaxing. Now you need to put in real effort or they'll leave you. And when that happens, don't expect me to come back and take you back." He kept his composure, obedient and polite. As soon as he got out of the car, he even opened the back door for me like a gentleman. With a calm and steady tone, he said, "I'm here today on Emily's behalf to explain things to you." He made a point of emphasizing that, as if to prove how transparent and righteous they both were, casting me as the petty troublemaker stirring the pot. But it didn't matter anymore. Without looking at them, I walked past the car and said flatly, "There's nothing to explain. I don't want to hear it." On my way back, I got a message from Ryan. "Kayla, if you insist on being this stubborn, then maybe we both need to cool off for a while." Even he had run out of patience. It wasn't the first time this happened. I still remember the time I found out that the necklace Ryan brought me from his overseas trip had been picked out with Emily. In fact, he had bought 2 identical ones, one for me, one for her. I yanked mine off in anger and made a huge scene. It turned into a major fight, and in the end, he just threw out the same line, "Let's cool off," and stormed out. He didn't come back for days. At first, I held my ground and refused to reach out, but eventually, I felt myself falling apart. I finally caved and went to his university to find him. But the sad thing was, since I wasn't a student there, the gatekeepers didn't recognize me. I couldn't even get past the school gate. I tried calling him again and again, but he never picked up. I waited from noon until sunset, and only then did I see him walking out from the campus. I don't remember exactly how we made up, but I do remember the unbearable heat that day, my tears mixing with sweat as I sat there pathetically in his arms, begging him not to break up. The same trick played again, but this time my heart felt nothing. I calmly tapped into the app and blocked him. I thought it would hurt more. I had already decided that no matter how painful it was, I had to grit my teeth and get through it. I couldn't turn back. But even after I used my vacation time to take my parents sightseeing around the city and returned home to pack and start my new job, an entire month went by. And I didn't think about Ryan even once. It was Ryan's mom who eventually found out I had come back. She tried to ask subtly why I hadn't returned with Ryan. I didn't answer. After that, she didn't bring it up again. But soon after, Ryan's mom started introducing eligible bachelors to me. She and my mom would sit side by side, comparing photos and profiles, analyzing which guy seemed most suitable. I found it funny and frustrating. I declined over and over, but they wouldn't give up. Eventually, I had no choice but to attend one blind date. What I didn't expect was for Ryan to show up at that date and forcibly drag me away. When we arrived back home, both my mom and Ryan's mom were sitting on the couch, cracking sunflower seeds like nothing had happened. Seeing us walk in, Ryan's mom spoke first. "How was the blind date, Kayla?" "Ryan, as her big brother, you really should be more involved. Let's help her find the best match possible, okay?" Ryan looked like he was about to lose it. He had driven all the way back in a frenzy, clearly at his wits' end. Now his mom was making snide comments. Frustrated, he ran a hand through his hair and snapped. "What kind of mother are you? Instead of helping me patch things up with Kayla, you're behind my back trying to set her up with someone else." His mom looked genuinely confused and waved dismissively. "Didn't you two break up? Even if you did, you've known each other since you were kids. If you're not a couple, you're still like siblings. We're not old-fashioned." I honestly wanted to laugh. The boomerang had hit dead center. Watching Ryan's defeated and embarrassed expression, I suddenly understood why neither he nor his parents had reached out to mine since the breakup. They had assumed the silence meant indifference. "I never said we broke up," Ryan muttered awkwardly, clenching his fists and avoiding my gaze. "Kayla and I are just going through a rough patch. But who goes through a cold war that lasts 2 months? And I had clearly said I was ending things. So I played along, pretending to be surprised. "Ryan, I thought when you said we needed to cool off, it meant you were accepting the breakup. We're adults, we know when to let go." His face went pale, his tall frame visibly unsteady. It took him a long moment before he finally ground out the word from between clenched teeth. "Kayla." I had never truly planned to break up, but now I had thought it through, and I was calm, serious even. "Ryan, I've made up my mind," I said, my voice steady. My composure clearly shook him. For the first time, I saw him panic. But with both our parents present, he reached out to grab my arm, and his voice trembled. "Kayla, if you really mind Emily, I'll delete her. I'll cut off all contact with her. If you want to meet my friends, I'll introduce you to everyone around me. I promise you, no more exes, no more lingering connections." Ryan sounded genuinely sincere, and I believed he meant it. He was the kind of person who once made a 10-year promise to Emily before she left the country, and waited faithfully until she broke it before allowing himself to start something new. He was polite, self-disciplined, and serious. "You can give me a deadline, a month, a year, 5 years. If I ever contact her again, you can leave me, and I won't ask for forgiveness. Just give me one more chance. Let me prove it to you." Seeing that I still wasn't responding, he tried again. His persistence started to sway even my mom, who seemed ready to say something, until Ryan's mom suddenly jumped in with a sharp tone. "Prove what? That someone's died and you're mourning them?" She pointed at me. "My Kayla is young and beautiful, and she shouldn't have to hang herself on an old worn-out tree like you," Ryan exploded. "Mom, am I even your son? Didn't you used to say the person you wanted most as a daughter-in-law was Kayla?" His voice cracked with frustration. And for the first time, he truly looked like someone cornered and abandoned. I turned to look at his mom, surprised and strangely moved. I hadn't expected her to stand up for me like that, especially since she had always been the happiest about my relationship with Ryan. She used to say our families were a perfect match, always urging Ryan to propose. She'd even started picking out jewelry for me and nagging him to hurry up and marry me. But now she said, "I like Kayla, but I also respect her choices. If you missed out on such a great girl, that's on you. What am I supposed to do? Force her into our family just because I like her?" Then she dragged Ryan away, muttering that he shouldn't embarrass himself any further. It was only later that I learned, after my final words to Ryan that day, his mom had called him that very night. She asked him directly what had happened between us. After hearing his explanation, she hung up on him. Ryan had thought his mom was still on his side. He hadn't expected that just days later, she would be the one suggesting new potential matches for me, asking him to help pick out someone suitable. Ryan did reach out to me after that. He tried adding me on social media again and again, leaving messages saying he hoped we could have a calm, honest conversation. I accepted his friend request, but I didn't respond. I simply sent him a screenshot of Emily's most recent posts. In the month since I'd left the capital, Ryan had appeared in every one of her updates, doing experiments together on campus, having dinner at a restaurant, and most recently, Emily sitting at the dining table in the apartment Ryan and I had lived in for 3 years, enjoying the elaborate meal he cooked. I didn't give him a chance to reply. After sending the screenshot, I blocked him again. After all, I was a Model X. I didn't hound him or try to make his life difficult. We no longer lived in the same city, and our lives barely intersected. I only heard about him from time to time through my mom, who mentioned how he was doing in the capital. He didn't end up with Emily, though. Instead, he dated a few other girls here and there, but none of the relationships lasted very long. When my mom told me this, she spoke gently, as if trying not to hurt me. Honestly, I thought Ryan would stay single for a long time after you left. He seemed so attached. I didn't expect him to move on so quickly. I gave a faint smile. He's already broken up with all of them, hasn't he? You can't really expect him to keep some kind of vigil for me. This just proves we've both moved on. That's easy to say, she sighed. But these past few years, you haven't dated anyone. Your aunts introduced you to so many great guys, really solid choices, but you... Not even one guy? My mom said, clearly exasperated. I'd managed to convince her, but she still couldn't let it go. Deep down, she was still a little bitter. After all, even though I was the one who'd been dumped, it seemed like Ryan was the one who had moved on, living freely and unbothered all these years. I paused what I was doing at the keyboard and smiled playfully. Who says I haven't moved on? I've gone from a project assistant to vice manager at my company. I even earned a stake in the business. If work were a relationship, I'd already have the marriage certificate. Oh, come on, my mom scoffed. You can't marry your job. But it was just her way of venting. In truth, my parents had always supported me unconditionally, whether it was about love or work. Because of that, these past few years, I had lived a fulfilling and genuinely happy life. Then I ran into Ryan again. It was at my cousin's wedding. I was one of the bridesmaids, and he was there as a college friend of the groom. He didn't come alone. Emily was with him. I don't think they expected to see me. Neither of their expressions looked natural, and Emily's gaze held less of her usual warmth, replaced by caution and curiosity. I, on the other hand, didn't react at all. I didn't even say hello. I just kept helping with the guests like nothing had happened. Ryan and Emily were seated at the table reserved for classmates. The atmosphere there was lively. But halfway through the banquet, a fiery young woman suddenly burst in, not toward the stage, but straight to Ryan's table. Ryan, are you serious right now? Your college friend's wedding, and instead of bringing your girlfriend, you bring some ex from who knows how many years ago? What the hell? Babe, let me explain. She just came along for the ride, Ryan said quickly, trying to control the situation. Emily's just a classmate. Everyone here knows her. I didn't want you to get carsick, so I didn't bring you. Please don't make a scene at the wedding. But the girl wasn't letting it go. She slapped Emily right across the face in front of everyone. The whole wedding fell into chaos. My cousin scolded her endlessly afterward, and it took my cousin's husband a long time to calm things down. When I left the hotel, I saw that same fiery girl sitting by herself near the flower bed, crying. At first, I intended to walk away, but in the end, I couldn't help it. I walked over and asked if she wanted a ride. Thank you, ma'am, she sniffled. I really didn't mean to ruin the wedding. Just let me know how much the damage is, and I'll pay you back. She used up an entire pack of my tissues. Only after that did she finally stop sobbing. Her eyes were still red and puffy as she looked at me, stared for a long moment, and then hesitated. I've seen you before. You were in Ryan's computer. I didn't react, kept my gaze forward. But the girl started talking again like she couldn't stop. I don't hate you, she said honestly. But I really can't stand Emily. She clings to Ryan like glue. Always claiming they're just friends. Constantly popping up in his life. But I never saw you, not once. I searched through all his social media accounts, and you were nowhere. She was blunt. I'll give her that. Her words made me chuckle. Of course you didn't find me. I blocked my ex on every account we followed each other on. She seemed surprised by that. After a moment of stunned silence, she asked, was it because of Emily? Is that why you broke up with Ryan? Just then, we hit a red light. I turned to look at her in the passenger seat. She was young, clearly new to the adult world, her eyes dark and clear, watching me with a mix of innocence and hesitation. She bit her lip, afraid of offending me, trying to be careful. As the light changed, I stepped on the gas and said, no, it wasn't because of Emily. She looked like she didn't believe me. But before she could ask again, I added, it was because of Ryan. You can't wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. So many years. Ryan never really changed. When the young woman heard what I said, she froze for a moment, then stayed silent the rest of the ride. When we arrived at the hotel, as I pulled up and parked, I spotted Ryan. He looked visibly startled to see me. After a brief moment of hesitation, he came over and, through the half-lowered window, said, "Thank you for bringing her back." I didn't respond. I simply watched as he gently coaxed the girl out of the car, using the same soft tone and familiar gestures he once used with me. But unlike me back then, the girl wasn't swayed. As she got out of the car, she calmly and firmly broke up with him. Ryan didn't follow her into the hotel. He just stood there, watching her walk away, then turned to look at me, his expression a mix of complicated emotions, some regret, some realization. After all these years apart, I was no longer the naive girl I once was. That day, in my pale pink wool dress, with perfectly done makeup and a poised air shaped by years of professional experience, I carried myself with a maturity that left no room for softness. Our eyes met. It took him a while before he finally broke the silence. So now you finally believe me. Emily and I were never possible. Even after all this time, Ryan still spoke with that same self-righteous tone. I stared at him, smiled, and replied, "Oh, and what does that change?" Seeing him speechless, I felt an odd sense of satisfaction. Honestly, watching that young girl embarrass Ryan in front of everyone at the wedding, watching him and Emily squirm, I couldn't deny it. I felt a little smug. Maybe I shouldn't have, especially since it was my cousin's wedding. But I did. I thought to myself, serves you right, Ryan. I smiled again, this time a little wider. You and Emily aren't possible. And neither are we. I wish you all the best. With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. Later, my mom told me that the girl who caused the scene at the wedding had broken up with Ryan. Before they ended things, she downloaded all his chat logs with Emily and sent them to both his university and Emily's workplace. Although Ryan hadn't technically cheated, the fallout seriously damaged his reputation. In the end, the school held a meeting and decided to transfer him out of his academic office and into logistics. Ryan spiraled into another slump for several years. Eventually, he married Emily because she got pregnant. No one really knew how it happened. My mom told me that Ryan's mother, who had always stayed out of his business, flew to the capital just to scold him. She chewed him out harshly and made it clear she would never accept Emily into their family. A few years later, during the first New Year's after I got married, my husband and I went to visit Ryan's mom for the holiday. That's when I saw Ryan again. By then, his daughter was 5 years old. He had changed a lot. The bright, confident aura he used to carry was gone. Even though it was New Year's, he looked tired, worn down. His daughter wasn't dressed well either, skinny, frail, and clearly shy around strangers. Ryan had come back home with her alone. Right before dinner, I passed by the balcony and overheard them arguing. "I already told you, my mom doesn't like you. I brought the kid, didn't I? Besides, it's my side of the family. You don't know anyone here. Bringing you would just make things awkward. If you're not happy, just get a divorce. I've put up with you long enough, Emily. What did you think this marriage was about? I told you before. We were done romantically. We could be friends, but there was never going to be anything more." I quietly closed the balcony door. That meal was probably ruined for him. Thinking back, Ryan had always been that perfect child everyone praised, smart, accomplished, the golden boy. I grew up around that image and tried to match it, making myself seem equally mature, like I had everything under control. Even when his father once mentioned the 10-year promise Ryan made to Emily, I felt a strange pride, thinking that if he was anxious, maybe it meant he cared about me. I knew that as the girl next door, I had always liked him. I comforted him, telling him Emily wouldn't come back. What I really wanted to say was that I was mature enough to handle a relationship with an ex. To me, a breakup was simply the end of one kind of relationship, not the end of all connection. People could still exist in each other's lives, just in different roles. That's why I kept in touch with Emily. We still interacted occasionally. As for what Kayla said about the couple profile pictures or contact names, I always felt those were just superficial things. Only immature kids would get worked up about them. But I never expected Kayla to actually break up with me. And so definitively. At first, I didn't take it seriously at all. I thought she was just throwing a tantrum. She was young and naive, just like any inexperienced girl who gets jealous over nothing. So I tried to coax her, patiently, more than once. But then she pushed it too far. She made a scene in front of my students and even slapped me. It didn't hurt, not really, but it was humiliating. After all, I had always seen myself as the one in control of the relationship. I had spoiled her so much that she became unreasonable. So I stopped trying to placate her. I figured she would cave eventually, like she always did. She'd come back to me. I never imagined she would actually leave the capital. That even her parents and mine wouldn't take my side. Instead, they started lining up blind dates for her, actively helping her move on. I was furious. For the first time, I swallowed my pride and went to find her. I thought I'd given her enough face, extended enough of an olive branch. But all she did was calmly tell me that she had made up her mind a long time ago. Later, I dated other people. I believed that the adult way to let go of love was to look forward. But I was surprised to find that none of those relationships truly worked. I couldn't fully open up. Each of them reminded me, in some frustrating way, of Kayla. Just as immature, just as unreasonable. One girl was especially extreme. She caused a scene at a friend's wedding. And when she broke up with me, she said that woman was right. You can't wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. It's not that you can't cut ties with Emily. It's that you enjoy balancing between an ex and a current girlfriend. You're disgusting. You deserve to be alone for the rest of your life. I won't lie. Those words stung. Maybe it was because of that final line, you deserve to be alone. Or maybe it was because I disagreed with her. Or maybe, just maybe, it was because she reminded me of Kayla. The truth is, all these years I acted like I had moved on. But I was like a thief, secretly watching everything Kayla did. I saw her get promoted, earn more, grow from someone green and hopeful to someone poised and independent. She bought her own apartment, got a cat. During that time, I was drifting through life. Somehow, I ended up sleeping with Emily again. She got pregnant, and we had no choice but to get married. But after the wedding, our life together was chaos. I could no longer balance emotions the way I once had. Everything I once prided myself on, staying composed, knowing what to do, was gone. And yet Kayla seemed genuinely happy. Her career thrived. She found someone who loved her. She became the one who was truly in control. She became the one who moved on.